Hey, welcome everybody. This is another edition of How God Saved Me, and this is episode 6, I believe, for this year. And I want to welcome the amazing Darla Christofferson. Darla, it's such a pleasure to see you.
Good to see you.
I've known her for quite a while, and well, as life goes on, sometimes it separates us, and Darla's living a little bit up north, and she's got all kinds of things going on in her life. But here's what I want you to know. Guys, this is How God Saved Me. The purpose of this show is to do one thing, and that's give glory to God. Yep. And it's to show you that every single person in your life has a story. Okay? I have a story. Darla has a story. And God wants these stories to come out because there are people in this world that need to hear your story. Mm-hmm. They need to hear my story. And so if you're out there and you were watching this show and you feel that you connect with Darla, we give you permission. Please go in the comment field and make sure that to write something, say something. But also, if you want to reach out to her, we'll see to it that we can get her to get a hold of you. So this is going to be another great show. I'm excited. And Darla, it's just great to have you.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
It's awesome. You know, I know that there's... Darla was part of our church many years ago and still is, but she's just more north and now she's got a big, beautiful family. And yes. I just love everything about you. Darla's one of those typical people. She do not, under any circumstance, judge a book by its cover. That's right. This may be a tiny woman, but she is like a nuclear bomb. Okay, you need to know that. And wow, what a story she has behind her. God has used her big time, and we are so happy to have you here. So,
thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, it's Monday. It is. Mother's Day was yesterday. I just want to say Happy Mother's Day to you, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I
know you must have like 20 kids now and 50 grandkids. I don't know. We'll keep it there.
A lot of people.
No comments.
Yay.
I always like to start the show off with. I know that you have a lot of things that have happened in your life.
Yes.
And still are. And one of the things I wanted to ask you to start with is that I do this for everybody, so we don't necessarily cover. I don't know everything, my do's and don'ts on everything in her life. So if she smacks me, it's okay. I was going to ask you about your childhood. Did you? We'll start there and we'll move forward. I know that you got a lot that you're about to say. I wanted to ask about your childhood. Some people had a good childhood, some didn't have a good. Some had medium. Some don't want to talk about things. Tell me about growing up at home. And
my childhood was a bit challenging. I grew up in Montana. I did live with both my parents, but there was a lot of alcohol in the house.
Okay.
And when I was born, and when I was a preschooler, I loved going to church and Sunday school and we just lived walking distance, and so Grandma would go, and we lived next door to Grandma, and Grandma would go.
So you were a Christian most of your life, is what I'm hearing, kind of.
Yeah, I accepted Jesus as a preschooler.
Okay.
I asked him to come and be my friend because I needed a friend.
That's awesome.
And I know he did because I felt that presence that scared me.
I know it well.
Like, oh, okay. But I believed from birth, really, that, I was going to grow up to be a preacher and tell everybody about Jesus. And so I would go, and Grandma would go downstairs with her church ladies and do whatever they did. And I'd be upstairs in the sanctuary with my coloring book and dream about, or sing songs to Jesus, and then dream about when I grow up how I'm going to tell everybody about Jesus.
That's so wonderful.
And then, it was time to start school. And they start asking you, what are you going to be when you grow up? And I'm like, well, I'm going to be a preacher, duh. Don't you know that? How do you not know that?
Yeah.
And they said, oh, that's stupid. You're a girl. You can't do that.
Wow.
And I was absolutely crushed in spirit. And from that time on, the identity crisis happened. And this is before I even started first grade. And the root of, you're a mistake. You shouldn't have those feelings. And then, the difference between boys and girls. I had two brothers. I didn't have any sisters. And so I got to see what they did, and I got to see,
Sure.
Boys get to have fun and girls clean up after them.
And there you have it.
And there you have it. And so, everything I wanted to, everything I switched to, you can't do that. You're a girl. You can't do that. You're too small. You can't do that. You're too young. You can't do now. It's you can't do that. You're too old.
Yeah.
So it was it was the first trauma that I remember, and from then on, like fear, anxiety, the belief that I'm a mistake just grew in
So
my
all
life.
those things snuck in your life at an early age.
At an early age, yeah.
Okay.
Anxiety, panic, and just all out, just like, and then we moved away out to the valley where we couldn't walk to church anymore, and Grandma didn't drive. So the pastor would come out and visit her, but I would shoot out of the room because he was only there to see Grandma. And so I really believed that God was rejecting me. But when I was preschooler, before all of this, we were out. I have an older brother, and he was out playing and running around with the neighborhood kids, and I was trying to keep up with them, but they wouldn't slow down. And I'm a runt. I don't keep up with people, and I was just frustrated. So I went into my grandma's back door. She had that old-fashioned screen door,
I remember
the sound of those. I miss that. And I just knelt down, and in Sunday school they had said, when you just can anytime call on Jesus to be your friend and come and be with you. And so I did that, and I was just, Jesus, I need a friend. I need you to come and play with me. And I felt that presence, and I looked up at the sky, and the clouds had formed the praying hands.
Wow.
And I swear that happened. And that's what's kept me going through a lot of stuff was, I knew he was there, but I'm like, okay, if he appears to me right now in person, I think I'd freak out. So I said, never mind. But I know he came and has been with me all my life after that.
That is so wonderful. What a great testimony there.
Even through all the trauma.
Yeah.
So, and as we were growing up, alcohol back in the 60s was available everywhere.
Yeah.
And my dad was big into, he was a manager of the grocery store. And so he was big into the community stuff and president of Chamber of Commerce. So there was always people he had to entertain, and he always had alcohol. And I discovered alcohol very young, that it helps ease some of that anxiety and trauma, and it just makes you feel good. And didn't really like the taste of it, but
liquid mask.
I needed this. It gave me courage.
Yes.
And so by the time I was 12, I was an alcoholic.
Did you say 12?
12.
There you go.
12.
12 years old, alcoholic.
12, yeah. I came home from school, 6th grade, and every day, of course, alcohol is available. So I would drink it to calm down. And that started the alcohol being a major part of my life. And we, through high school, I did very well in school, the curriculum wise. School was easy for me, but the social part of it was rough. Mostly because I had all this fear that nobody would like me, and or they would see that they'd figure out that I'm a mistake and really not like me, and so all of that just all went throughout. And my class was an awesome class, but I didn't have very many friends.
And is that because of the built up anxiety and fear that you've had since you were a child?
Yeah.
So you just assumed that everybody didn't like you.
Yeah.
But
I
assumed. Okay.
Yeah.
But you didn't hear that. You just were experiencing it.
Right. It was just in my mind, my mental health of that. And so during high schow, I actually you could start driving early in Montana. I bought my own car, and I had a bottle always underneath the seat of my car.
It sounds like Montana, at least on the TV shows that we see.
Yeah.
So
lunchtime I'd go out and take a few drinks, a few sips just to get through the day.
Sure.
Get through the afternoon, and so it was. I didn't have a whole lot of friends, but if on a Friday night the people around me discovered I had alcohol, they weren't my best friends until that bottle was empty.
Yeah.
And then they'd all want to go home, and so I grew up lonely. I didn't feel like I really belonged in my family.
Yeah.
Because I always had different thoughts than my family.
Yeah.
Different desires, different, and a few times, when your kids are fighting, like, well, then you're adopted. Like, well, if we didn't look so much alike, I would have definitely believed that. And that was just my interpretation of it, and it really wasn't.
So your brain was really running rampant with a lot of different things.
Yes.
Saying, not being accepted and all these things. That was just you saying that.
Yeah.
So you were really struggling with all that.
Yeah, it was.
Okay. So how you did that go through all of high school? That feeling?
Yeah.
Okay. So to you, I know that I didn't enjoy my high school years. Is that what your feeling is? You didn't really enjoy them?
I loved the curriculum. I loved doing the class. The teachers liked me.
Somebody liked that.
Because I got A's. They liked me.
Who likes that?
But I didn't feel like there was a lot of kids. I'm little. I was still short. And all these big, tall...
I'm tall now. Thank you, Darla.
All these big, tall guys, walking through the... 600 kids walking through the schools, in between classes, they'd always run over me. And I'm like, oh, I didn't see you there. Well, I know. I'm invisible.
I go through. So that's great. That's great.
So, I felt invisible. And...
Okay.
And then I had gotten to go on this really awesome trip. I had my grandma and I had always talked about going to Norway when I graduated.
Okay.
To go and look, to meet relatives that we have over there. And she ended up getting a good deal where we went 2 years early. I was going to be a junior in high school. And we went and spent a month over there
in
with
Norway.
Family.
Wow.
I paid my way because I was working.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Did you enjoy it? Was it
I did.
Was it the experience of a lifetime?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was actually hoping, secretly hoping that, I would find my long lost family who really loved me.
Sure.
The Disney movies.
Sure.
The Lost Princess.
Yes.
That didn't happen, but then I had to come home, and when I came home, I didn't get the reception from my family that I thought, oh, you've been gone so long, we missed you so much. But that didn't happen. And so I just like, oh my gosh, I really... So
that put you over the edge too.
That put me way over the edge.
Okay.
And I was 16, and my mind just blacked, and I don't even remember the month of July. But I did plan on, I planned out my suicide. I was going to check out of this earth, do everybody around me a favor, and just be gone.
Okay.
And I had one thing left to do. Actually, they always said I was OCD because everything has to be in its place. So one of the ways my brothers would torment me is they'd go in my room and move something, and it would set me off.
There you go.
So, and they love doing that for some reason.
If you were my sister, I would have done the same thing. I admit that. Okay, I'm sorry.
And so, I just needed to do the world a favor and check out. And so I remember I had grabbed a bottle of Jack Daniels, and I went up. I told my friends who wanted to hang out with me, of course, because I had a bottle, that I was just going to stay home. And I told my parents I was going to go spend the night with friends. And I went and drove around. I just drove around town all night, and then I went up to the boulevard and overlooking the valley. And I was just going over my life, like, is there a purpose? Is there a purpose for me? Is there any reason that besides tormenting my family and being a mistake, that is there a reason for me to be here?
Right.
And I remembered, I was going through it, I remembered the Sunday school teacher had told me that, you know, Jesus loves me, and that, you know, anytime you need him, to call on him. And you know, that night, I was always very fearful, but that night the fear of living was greater than the fear of dying. And
Wow.
I figured that, you know, when I did do this, that I would be, I would find out if God really loved me when I meet him.
Wow.
And but I had one thing left. I'd written out my note because OCD. Here's where I want my stuff to go to. Here's, you know, and explained everything. So it's kind of crazy, but that's what I did. And I wasn't sure how yet. And I had one promise I had made my best friend, and there was this guy named Tom that she said, you guys would be really good. You need to go out on this blind date, and we'll go on a blind date together. And I'm like, her boyfriend, it was her, Tom and her boyfriend were the best friends at that time, and her and I were best friends. So, I agreed to do that, and we went on this blind date, and we watched, this wonderful romantic movie. It was Jaws.
Jaws. For every couple, I mean, there's always a romantic movie, and Jaws, you know, I don't necessarily recommend guys that you take your date out to Jaws, but Tom, you did it. Good job.
I had seen it before because, you know, that was the movie place was a good place to go, and the drive-in movies,
Sure.
you know, drink and sneak your alcohol in to drink and
Sure.
just, you know, sit there watching the movie. And I knew when to hide my eyes, you know, from all the gore, but it was interesting. I mean, he didn't even try anything funny, so I'm like, okay.
He didn't even try anything funny?
He didn't.
Tom, what is wrong with you, man?
I didn't have to slap him. He was a gentleman. I mean,
he was a gentleman and everything.
It was so funny because we went out to pizza and pool, and he would mess up his shots, and he would laugh about it and not have a cussing storm, and
wow.
You know, and it was just he would just love life, and I'm like, this is weird.
He was actually a good guy.
He was a good guy.
Oh, Tom, come on, man.
A good guy. So, so after the date, you know, they took my friend was spending the night with me. So the guys dropped us off, and little kissed us good night, and then they left, and I'm like, well, that was weird.
All right, what made you feel it was weird about it?
It was just hanging with a positive person was weird, and to me, and so the next day he called me back, wanted to go on another date. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll put this
put the suicide thing aside.
Off.
We'll put it over here. Tom,
here,
you're such a good guy. You even made her put that on the back shelf. My goodness.
Yeah.
My goodness.
So I had determined that I wasn't going to start my junior year because I couldn't face it at that time, but, you know, before. But then I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to school. I'm going to go be a junior. And, you know, we hung out a lot. You know, that was pretty much the time we became Tom and Darla.
So, was Tom a Christian at this time?
He was. After, but I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know that? Okay.
I didn't know that. And after dating a few times, he said, you know, I really want to take you to church. And I'm like,
yeah.
What? You actually like going to church? Because most people, it was a torture to, you know, have to go to church. And so we went, his uncle was the pastor at this church.
Okay.
So we started going to that church, and it was just like a whole different life that I didn't even know existed in that area. And so we went to church, and 2 years later we got married and had our
so wonderful.
Had our 2 boys, and you know.
Wow, what a story.
Yeah.
It's just neat when you find that special somebody, especially when you're younger, you know.
Yeah.
I was 12 and my wife was 11 when we met.
Yeah.
You know, and so when you talk about that and then you see how it all started, what a blessing. Tom, what a great guy you are. Just
so August, it's 50 years since our blind date.
Wow, 50 years since the blind date.
48 since we got married.
So you've been married, so it's been 48 years?
Yeah.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
it's gonna be 40 years for us. You actually beat us. That's incredible. That's okay. So it's 40 years for Michelle and I this year. So you met Tom, you couldn't believe it, and okay, so now your life lives happily ever after.
Well, no, because we were still drinking.
Okay.
And we he was working at a grocery store, and so his schedule was, all messed up and back and forth. And I got a job at as bookkeeping, so like more normal hours. But he had his we did it all of the time. I brought all this garbage into our marriage, and it's still all of that. I was still feeling all of that.
So that didn't go away. The
No,
anxiety, fear, everything.
No.
You brought that to the marriage.
Brought all of that.
Did he bring a bunch of luggage too, or was he?
He had really awesome upbringing. His family.
Don't tell me he was a saint.
He wasn't a saint.
Okay. I'm thinking no.
But he had a background of family. His grandparents were pastors. Okay. Traveling evangelist type people.
Okay.
And a couple uncles are pastors, and
wow.
So he had of course he wasn't perfect because nobody is, but
I just had to verify. Okay.
Yes.
Tom, I had to say that, man. Okay.
But I was I was still had that mistake, and so I was kind of still cautious about everything, and like, okay, when is he gonna figure out that I'm a mistake, and then it's all gonna all get all messed up. So I was trying to be this perfect mom and perfect wife and do everything right, and we did have some years of struggle, but because I had my drinking buddies, he had his, and so because we had different schedules, and so it was just. It wasn't good, and we kind of backed out on going to church because of our schedules, and it was just we got busy, and
so you didn't go to church anymore at that
point. We stopped going to church for a while.
Okay.
And then it all came to a head, and we just sat down, had a meeting. It's like, okay, things have to change.
Yeah.
We've got to if it means selling our house. We had a house in Helena. If it means selling our house, starting over somewhere new, away from our drinking buddies, yes. We would do that. So we ended up moving out here we were living in Montana at the time. We ended up moving out here. Okay. And we aimed for Kirkland because we were going to try to go to school at Northwest College. Right. I ended up in Linwood.
You chose Linwood over Kirkland. All right.
It was a little more priceable. Yeah. I mean, we can afford it there more. And then we ended up being busy. We haven't gone to college. We never made it there. But we just found some church to go to, and then it just there's a lot going on. But all this time. So we ended up moving back to Montana a couple times, back and forth. Wow. When my mom had gotten stomach cancer, and I had gone back for a month to help her out. Okay. She came out here for the surgery, but it was rough. And then right before she came out to go to the doctor to get better ulcer medicines. Yeah. I got convinced me to quit drinking. He's just, we had a conversation. He said, think of all the people that alcohol has helped in their life. Well, I really couldn't come up with anybody.
I don't know that I can come up with any names either. So you guys can all think about that. I want to take this moment just to say to you, if you can relate to this story about drinking, about feeling depressed, anxiety, fear, not feeling like you're worth anything. That's where the struggle started with Darla. Yeah. And if you can relate to that, would you please let us know? We would love to pray for you. We would love to get with you and talk to you about that and show you that there's another way out. Okay, other than what you might be thinking, like Darla was thinking. And this is one of those great stories where a man came to rescue the woman this time. Okay, it wasn't the woman rescuing the guy. Thank you, Tom. You helped us all out. Yes. There's always somebody good out there. So
yeah. Okay. And then God also asked, okay, now tell me all of the people who it's hurt. And that was a really long list, and a lot of them had died. And so he said, do you really want to have anything to do with something that's caused so much trouble, or so much trauma. And
Now, did he say that, or the pastor said that? Who did?
God.
Oh, God said that
to
to
you
you
guys.
guys.
We're having a talk.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I said, okay, I'll give up drinking, but you're going to have to help me. And that night was, it was rough. There was a lot of temptation, but I just pretty much prayed all night, and I just said, take it. I'm not doing it anymore. And that was, it will be 37 years in August.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And
that was amazing.
Yeah.
Did you? So you didn't go through all the withdrawals that you hear about
I did
people?
not.
That's great.
Yeah. And so, but I still had all those feelings and all the trauma.
Mm-hmm. You used a word with me before we got started that I was like, I had an epiphany of it.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what that was again?
I was a tormented Christian.
Tormented Christian.
Yes.
And that, and I like that, because sometimes as Christians we feel like we're supposed to be perfect, and we can't we can't tell anybody that I struggle in these areas. Right. But that's not necessarily true, is it? No. You can still love the Lord. You can, and you still may be struggling.
Yes.
But you don't have to be tormented. And that's the part that I guess Darla's bringing up here, is that it's just us. We make ourselves tormented. Yeah. Because we don't talk to people. We're afraid to bring it up that, oh, you're supposed to be a Christian. You can't be doing that. Right. And that can be tough. If you really got saved, you wouldn't have any problems. That's the biggest cop-out lie that there is. It really is. It is. There's accepting Jesus as your Lord and Savior is not a miracle pill that you take. Hey, I can't sin anymore. This is incredible. Yeah. It doesn't work that way. And I love that. I'm gonna be using that a lot. So tormented Christian. Go ahead. Yeah. So I gave up drinking, but then there's all this trauma, all these feelings, and so I kept stuffing them down because not supposed to talk about problems. So I ended up that's when panic attacks really were heavy, and like if not daily, it was at least weekly. Oh wow. And so and nobody knew that, because I was able to just pray and talk myself out of being in panic, but there's no common sense to panic. There's nothing you can do to fix it, and so I struggled with that for many years. And so during 2010, there's a lot going on. And it was intense, and I really felt that if I didn't make all the right choices and all the right decisions, it would cost the life of my first grandchild. And that was all. I was sleeping 2 hours a night. It was just it was bad. And so I had the mother of all panic attacks. Uh-oh. And I couldn't talk myself out of it. I couldn't breathe. It literally took my breath away. And Tom came out to the living room. I had gotten up in the middle of the night to go out in the living room and calm down. And Tom came out, and I was on the floor trying to breathe. And we decided maybe we should go to the emergency room. So literally, when you got a panic attack, it was a type that you literally couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. You'd be laying there, and you're just, it's that bad. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. Yeah. This isn't just being upset about something and you're crying and this is the extreme level. Extreme, very extreme. Yeah. So I ended up in the emergency room, and it happened to be a Sunday. So our pastor ended up coming up and praying with us, and so now I'm exposed to the church that I have this problem. I have struggles and problems, and so I thought, okay. I thought we'd be invited out of church. So so even women can have a pride issue. Yeah. So it was like, it was a fear. It was a fear because sure. You're not, if you're having struggles as a Christian, then you really didn't get saved. You really don't belong. And so I thought it was, but the support, the love and support and surrounding of everybody was a total surprise to me. That's awesome. But, it's, you can see an alcoholic, you can see a drug addict, it's obvious. Yeah. But somebody that's struggling mentally, it's invisible. Yeah. And you just slap a smile on your face, and you go and you pretend everything's fine, and you go to church.
and hold on until you can get home. And
Do you think, Darla, that there's a lot of people in church right now that probably are even in our local churches now that are sitting next to you smiling, and they may be going through the same thing?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I
so
see it all the time.
this is such a great word, and we're so thankful for you.
Yeah.
This is amazing because you maybe you're struggling with this, and if you are, you need to look at Darla. She's a superhero. She was able to finally let this out and expose herself, and maybe she didn't want to at the time,
No.
but it's really amazing. If you're struggling with depression, fear, anxiety, please don't hold it in. Listen to her story.
Yeah.
This is absolutely amazing, and she would be the first to tell you and talk with you about it. So please leave us a comment if you have to. Please do that. Okay.
Yes. So that began. When I was in the hospital in the emergency room, I was like, I told God, I'm done. I give up. I quit because I'm not. Remember, I'm the mistake. I can't do this. I can't take care of everybody. I can't. I can't run my life. I quit everything I'm trying to do. And he goes, well, it's about time. And now can we do it my way? So I'm like, I thought I was.
Wow, I'm excited to hear.
And so that really began a journey of recovery.
Okay.
And so then it was, I went to a women's Bible study at Cindy's house, and
Okay.
Margie and Carmen were there.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, at first when they said it was coming on, God said, I want you to go to that. And I'm like, no. And I with the panic attack, a small one. And so I'm like, okay, wait. Margie's going to be there. Carmen's going to be there. I know they like me. So I'm going to go.
Yes.
And so
you can't fail when you have those two right after that,
And I found so much support and healing, and a lot of it was a battlefield of the mind.
Yes.
And there was so much wrong thinking, all the battle that had been going on, the wrong thinking. So it started on a journey of starting thinking right, what God thinks of me and everything. So I was praying one time. Well, we had gone to a Women of Faith conference, and one of the speakers just made me start crying. They were talking about growing up lonely.
Yeah.
And I realized that, that's what it was. I had grown up lonely. And I just couldn't stop crying. And I'm not a crier. I'm like, God, what is this? I'm not a crier. That's weakness. What do I do? And he goes, well, it's time to take care of a lie that you've believed all your life.
Wow.
And he said, you were never not wanted. I have always wanted you.
Wow.
And that just broke. I just felt this 500-pound weight come off of my. It broke something that the lie that had just hooked itself into me from a preschooler on, and so I'm like, whoa. So since then that time, I've been able to open up and share with people about the struggles.
Wonderful.
And when we moved up to Marysville, God asked me to find a church that had a Celebrate Recovery in it. And we found one. It was just like what we needed to be there. And so they invited us. The whole church was their first birthday. It was their first birthday party for the CR. And so we went to check it out to see, because I know people who need, you think of recovery, it's like always alcohol and drugs. And I said, well, go find out what is. God said, go check it out. And so I like, okay, I'll find out what it's about, because I know people that could use it. And it ended up being that night was the people talking about their mental health, their panic, their depression, how much all of the different, there's alcohol and drugs, but
so it's not all about that. It's not all about drugs and alcohol.
No, it's any hurt, habit, or hang up that you have that keeps you from being all that God has for you.
Wow, what an amazing story. And I have to ask, how do you feel? I mean, I want you to think about the story that she's been telling already, and I want you to think about the fact that Ted's not really bashful. He's not, And he just, hey, Darla, you need to be on the show. You need to come and tell your story, you know. And I remember talking to her in my driveway, and she was like a dynamo. And she's like, yeah, I'll tell my story. You will?
Yeah.
And here you are. And now, how do you feel that you're able to say this, and you know that numerous people are going to be seeing this? How do you feel about this?
Oh, I feel like, you know, I'm hoping that I'm glorifying God because it's what He's done in me.
I can assure you are.
The healing that
Yes.
He's done in me, and the you know, getting the right mindset.
Yeah.
I know I'm accepted by God. You know, like
You're darn right.
before this, always my vision of getting into heaven was, you know, I'm gonna get there and I'm gonna go, oh, Jesus, let's just sit and get the world off.
Hanging on by your fingernails.
Yeah. And now, you know, now I'm like, I'm gonna fly. I'm not gonna stop at the gate and ask if my name's on the list. I'm gonna fly into Jesus.
Yeah, look at that.
In victory. And, you know, that's how I feel. So now I'm in I went through the 12 steps and worked on a lot of the trauma, the childhood memories, all the stuff, and got my mind set. And now, you know, I'm a leader on the Celebrate Recovery team, and I co-lead the mental health open share group. And so I'm a sponsor. I get to encourage ladies all the time. I get to encourage and walk with them through recovery. And
that's an amazing.
You know,
if you're suffering with any kind of depression, mental, you know, what you might think is mental illness or anything, anxieties, fears, right here. This is the person you need to be getting a hold of.
Yes.
You know, she's been through it. She's walked through it deep most of your life.
Yeah.
Most of your life,
Yeah.
And here she is now. She's vibrant. She's telling the world about her story.
Yeah.
I mean, what more can you want? Yes, this is more than just a victory for Jesus.
Yeah.
This is something awesome.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we overdo it in the world. We celebrate those victories of drug abusers and you know, ex-murderers coming to Jesus, and we don't realize that the real war, the real struggle out there is what's going on today. We were talking about this before the show, how much mental illness is out there, mental fatigue with drugs and everything how it started, and now people are suffering everywhere.
They are. Yes.
You know, what would you you know, I know we have people that are watching that are struggling in this area. I know we do.
Uh-huh.
And is there any kind of words that you could say to them right now that would really encourage them to check themselves?
Yes. Yeah. Well, in CR we have a saying, it's okay to not be okay. And talk to somebody. You're not alone. You have a family of people who understand, who get you.
Yeah.
Find people to support you, that can give you encouragement and hope.
Yeah.
You know, my church started that when I had my breakdown, that the love and support and hope that I was given. And then it's just, you know, if you look up celebraterecovery.com and find a group, it's just as important or more important than Alcoholics Anonymous is, because
absolutely
there's 8 principles and 12 steps, and the second principle is really my favorite. It's believe that God exists, that I matter to Him, and He has the power to help me recover.
Wow, that's a good word. And all this information, by the way, about Celebrate Recovery and so forth with Darla, it's going to be in the description below. So make sure you check that out, and so we get that to you.
Yeah.
So, wow. I don't even know what else to ask you. What a story. That's amazing. How are things right now in your life? How do you feel that you are right now?
I've never been so free. I've never known freedom like this. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Amen.
He has little assignments for me. I don't have to save the world. That's his duty.
And she tried. Trust me.
Yes, I did. But I just do the little assignments I have every day. Wow. What assignment do I have today? And right now my husband's going through some health struggles.
Okay.
So it's my main focus is on making sure he's okay and taking care of him. I'm retired, so
That's so great.
I get up early in the morning and do my thing and get him up at 8:30 so I can feed him breakfast and then we have the day together. So
wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
that's
so
wonderful. And when you hear this show, I want you to don't stop praying for Darla. Always continue to pray for her.
Yes.
She's praying for everybody else, I assure you. But continue to pray for her and give her strength. She's not just a dynamo in the world of recovery with all this, but she's also a mighty woman of God. She's a wife, and Tom's going through some health issues, as she said, and pray for them, pray for that situation there, and pray for her kids and stuff. We all need prayer. We all need that. And I'll tell you something. I know her personally. She is an extreme dynamo, and we just love her to pieces. And you need to really reach out. And if you're struggling in any way with any of these things, depression, anxiety, fear, mental health, please do not. The Lord never intended for us to suffer alone.
No.
He never did.
No.
You thought you were going to get out of it just because of Tom meeting, and Tom, you were a great guy, okay? But that wasn't enough. You learned later on that Tom wasn't enough, and that Jesus had to come all over that relationship and everything to help answer everything. And that's what makes this story so beautiful, is that we in no form, no way do we want to give the enemy any glory.
No. And
this show is about showing you where we all are. We all have testimonies that need to come out.
Yes.
And Darla had one that she's held in for a long time, and she's been able to say it because it's going to glorify God. Somebody is going to hear this message and is going to thank Darla personally. And I know that I do. I know that I do. And I said, and I can't believe what a great testimony it is. I had no idea. I've known her for a long time, and I had no idea most of what's been going on. And I'm so thankful that God is moving in her life. And what are some things that you can say are upcoming in the future here, in the future right now? Anything? Just life is going good and just kind of moving forward?
Yeah. Just I'm going to keep on trucking. And
that's awesome.
Every day, just, Lord, what you got for me today and what are we doing? And it's just living one day at a time. And
that's the way it works.
We're not promised tomorrow.
Yes. And the Lord never promised us an easy life.
No.
And, that's the thing. That's one of the things I was thinking of the whole time when you were telling this. A lot of you don't realize that when you accept Jesus, we talk about this. There's no magic pill. I was talking to Darla about Hebrews chapter 13 is where a lot of the superheroes in the faith, you find out that they still suffered. They still had to go through a lot of junk, despite the fact that they were heroes. As Darla, Darla's still, going through regular life and has to deal with the issues. And so, but you're a superhero in a lot of our eyes. So,
thank you.
if this show touched you, please hit that thumbs up, hit that like button. And like I said before, all her information that you need to know about recovery is going to be in the description below. And Darla, I can't thank you enough.
Thank you for inviting me.
I can't thank you enough for being here. You're such a blessing to our church and to the people that all know you. And I'm so thankful for you. And I'm looking forward to seeing Tom again pretty soon.
Yes.
I have to admit, I'm going to be like, okay, Tom, you're one of those good guys.
Yes.
I just love to hear these love stories, and you're thinking, he was a good guy. You didn't have to smack him around.
No.
Oh, Tom, come on, man. You're making it hard on the rest of us. I love it. But you're still a Vikings fan.
Yeah.
Guys, this is how God saved me. This is Darla Christofferson. She's amazing. And please, like I said, if you have a comment, leave it below. And we just want to thank you. Thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, yes.
And we want to say good night and God bless you all.
Yes. Amen.
Amen.